In racing circles, it's sometimes referred to as the mini green hell, and while it's not nearly as long and as dangerous as the infamous Nordschleife, it's still an intense test of driver skill and focus. Virginia International Raceway's Grand West course certainly feels like a throwback to the tracks of the 60s, and today's drivers will be forced to summon the prowess of Clark and Hill if they hope to come out on top. We'll find out who's got it as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the Lotus 49 World Cup, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, much like Donington and Zandvoort, VIR is a track that's come back from the grave. Tell us about this Lazarus of a circuit.
Right here in Alton, Virginia, in the United States of America, Joe. And, VIR offers 6 configurations, of which 2 can be run simultaneously. I didn't know that going into this. That's pretty interesting, actually. Now, today, this seldom run course, the long configuration called the Grand West course, it uses the other 2 short connecting sections between the full course and what's called the Patriot course. And that's where we are today on the Grand West circuit. 4.07 miles, 6.55 kilometers, 29 turns. This is crazy. There's 130 feet of elevation changes throughout this course. But the best way to get an idea what it's like to go around this place is jump on board the GSRC Lotus 49 and take a lap around VIR.
All right, we've got Ben Zocco in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around VIR. Coming down the front stretch, the run into Horseshoe is one of the few good places to pass around this layout. But it's very easy to outbrake yourself into this corner, so don't get too greedy on the brakes when you're in a battle. It's going to be tough to get the power down with a slight bend off the hairpin, so be gentle on the throttle. From there, hold right and guide it through the kink that leads into NASCAR bend. It's tough to be accurate with the track edge, so it's not uncommon to see cars slither into the tires. After that, it's a short burst into left hook. It's going to feel like you're crawling through the chicane because of the 49's lack of downforce. And as you come out of there, the racing line is almost one continuous arc into the snake. This is very much single file through here, and it'll be important to ensure you don't need a late lift. Because as we fly under the bridge, you're now approaching the uphill S's. They're not really a good place to pass, and yet desperate drivers are definitely going to try it if they get a good run on you. Hold to the right as you come out so that you can line up for South Bend. It's easy to carry too much speed into here and slide off into the grass on the outside. You have almost no relief before you're into Oak Tree, which is a 2 apex bend. This is one of the most critical corners on the circuit. Set the car up for a good launch up the back straight and then get your foot down. It's a decent climb uphill, but braking for bitch will include a big crest in the road. Keep in mind how much grip that'll take away as you hit the binders, but also be aware that this is another good place for an overtake. Try not to apex this 180-degree bend too early, then find the throttle pedal and send it back downhill again. Now we're into the infield section that adds a decent amount of mileage and a lot of turns to this already twisty track. The spiral is going to be another very trying set of corners. Elevation change, direction change, and a whole lot of wheel work will keep you busy. It eventually culminates in this long, patience-trying left-hander. Now, as you climb back up once again, this is where it gets tricky because there's parts where you can't see what's coming until you're already on top of it. I see a lot of spins and cut course penalties happening here. Eventually, the corners begin to open up, which means the throttle will open up too and you'll be gaining speed. But it's about this time we return to the main circuit, which smacks us in the face with a roller coaster. This downhill dive is only slightly easier since the braking is straighter than it is on the normal course. But beware getting off track with a sloped runoff, which will practically suck you away from the pavement. Up last is Hogpen, which gives you one final challenge both under braking and under acceleration. With this corner leading onto the front stretch and that being the longest period you're fully on the throttle, you can imagine the importance of the exit you get out of here. But as we come to the line, you've now hopefully finished a lap around VIR. Well, hope you've made it through that entire lap because, man, it is a long one to get around here. But before we get to the qualifying that's going on, because guys haven't even really got their lap times in, let's go to the points championship. It's pretty straightforward so far. Mick Claridge has won every single race of the 4 that we've run this season. Now, he does have Michel Dudignon here today. He could be the plug in the spigot. Joni Kajanen has been running very well, so has Enzo Canta, and that's why they're almost tied for second and third. Ove Trangrade is very much up there, and look at Neil Kemp. Second through fifth, pretty much all in an incredibly tight race for best of the rest. Now, Sean, there is also a Constructors' Championship, and why don't you get us up to date on that?
Yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. Now, of course, with Mick Claridge kind of running away with this thing here early, not even halfway into the season. Of course, the UK sits there up top, 41 points. The US trailing just 10 points behind, looking for some help today here. A couple of drivers in the session from the US, so we'll see how they fare. Let's see. Finland sitting there in third, 16 points back. We know the Finns can make a charge. Italy on the back of Enzo Canta and maybe a couple other guys. Yeah, Enzo's here today, just Enzo. In fourth, Norway coming up to fifth, 29 points back, Joe.
And of course, they could be people who are watching that have never watched the Lotus 49 World Championship. So why don't we give you the race details so that you can get up to speed there. This is round 5 of 12, with this being official iRacing. And of course, we have a race distance of about 14 laps today. Not very many laps that you need before the time starts to add up around you. They're open setup on these cars, but the drivers tend to share these pretty freely out there because this is so much down to driver preference and to driver skill on your speed as far as how these cars are set up. The points paid 8th in this series. They upped it from 6 if you were watching last season. So not quite how it used to be in 1967 train. With them having more drivers out there, they're trying to pay a few more points out to make it possible for some more people to be in the hunt. So, as we watch the time start to come up, we might not be able to get you the time and scoring. There we go. Now we've got it. We're getting Michel Dudignan up at the top. Not much of a surprise there. Now, where is Mick Claridge on his lap? It's like he's... Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just going to say he's still making his way around. Others coming in now, though. Ben Zocco, Dave Price on the board. Looks like, yeah, a lot of them starting to come across now. Spencer, Cantus, Nelson, Morin.
Mick just coming across the line, and he puts it into second, but he is 3/10 down on Michel Dudignan. Normally, at most tracks, Sean, that would be a wide gap. I have to imagine here there's lots of places where you can gain or lose that.
Boy, so many places to get in trouble here. The NASCAR bend, the Snake, the uphill S's, South Bend, Oak Tree. The spiral. Oh, man, I had so much trouble navigating that. The spiral being a turn 17, 19, 16, 17, 18, 19 through there. Just crazy. This is going to be a real challenge for these drivers today, Joe.
Indeed. I'm looking to see if anybody else has gotten their laps in, because I'm seeing 15 cars having put times in. I'm almost wondering if the other drivers just simply had offs or spins and couldn't get a clean lap in. And that's some big names. Rupert Turkala, Ove Trangrade has not got a lap in. My goodness. This is going to be a hard day for a number of drivers, especially with how hard it is to pass.
Yeah, and looks like Dudignan's already pulled in. He decided that 25 flat was good enough to keep him in the pits.
And in fact, we only have a minute left on the qualifying. That's how long it takes for these drivers to get around. I'm seeing a few that probably aren't going to get around, including potentially Mick Claridge. He's got 50 seconds to go. Sean, where he is, do you think that's enough time? He's in the spiral.
Boy, it's going to be close. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think he's going to get it. About 40, just under 45 seconds. I think he'll be okay here.
He's coming up and over on the Patriot course. Oh, I always hated this section in other cars that I've driven in through here.
Yeah, you like it even less in this car, trust me.
Back up the hill he climbs, and then re-enters the main course, heading to Roller Coaster.
Boy, he's just barely going to make it, man.
A little bit straighter braking into there. Down through the hill into Hogpen he comes. It's going to be extremely tight. I don't think he's going to get there. Just a few seconds to go. He gets onto the power, climbs up the hill, and I think it's going to kick him out just before he crosses the line. Mick Claridge can do no better than second, so let's go to the grid. Michel Dudignan will be your pole sitter, and he'll be flanked by the Brit of Claridge. on the outside of row 1. Billy Bob Wright starts in 3rd with Joni Kaisinen in 4th. Then row 3 begins with Enzo Canta in 5th and Rupe Turkula starting in 6th. He did get a lap time in. Dave Price starts in 7th, Benjamin Zocco in 8th, and Philip Spencer starts 9th. Finally, the top 10, Sean, is rounded out by Bruce Nelson.
Okay, and we're going to go down to 11th. It's going to be Neil Kemp today, Richard Morin 12th, Hideki Koivitso, the Finn, in 13th, Ove Trengrade 14th, Roy Cunningham 15th, 16th, going to go Andrew Eng, Gary Anderson in 17th, Don Tell Me Something Good starting 18th, and Daniel Murphy, the New Yorker, going to start all the way at the back of the field in 19th, Joe.
Relatively good turnout. I didn't expect this track to really garner a lot of drivers, as it's not well suited to the 49, even though it fits the style of driving it Tim had to face. But this series, if you're not familiar, is running the same exact schedule that the Skippies are running this season, and they're doing a combined championship, hence the unusual choice of tracks that they're running for some of these rounds this season. So as the cars start to grid up, Michel Dudignan is back. He wasn't here for Spa, and Mick Claridge felt like it kind of gifted him a win, along with a few other drivers having problems. Let's see if he's able to beat the Frenchman today on what is an incredibly difficult course. Engines revving up as they wait for the lights to come up. Lights are up. Engines start to rise. Green flag is out. Michel Dudignan gets a very good start. Oh, but he bobbles. And Mick Claridge has got a run on him. So does the car of Billy Bob Wright. Claridge looking around the outside. This could be his only opportunity with the difficulty in passing around here. Had a little bit of contact behind him, but Michel manages to fend him off and hold on to first despite an unusual start. A little bit of side-by-side action. Now they're starting to get single file as they head through NASCAR. Dave Price getting a challenge from Benjamin Zocco, but he has to stay behind him. Now they hit the left hook. Nobody really trying to challenge already, Sean.
They've gone line of stern all the way to the back. Daniel Murphy with trouble in the hairpin when they got started. He's clean, though. Everything good. Just got off in the grass. But, yeah, Joe, they've gone nose to tail all the way back, 19 strong.
I almost wonder if that's the preservation instinct that a lot of these drivers are taking, not want to challenge things. Now they hit South Bend. Oh, so tricky in this car to get through there. A lot more braking than some other machinery. But everybody seems to be staying on track. And finally, it's Oak Tree.
Can we have a moment of silence?
To have it back. But they're growing the new one. Hopefully someday it'll be as majestic as the one that is in iRacing. Up towards the corner that, yes, it is actually called Bitch. And so cover your ears if you're offended, but that's the corner name.
Or Bichon.
Yeah, Bichon. There we go. We'll call it that. Mick Claridge still holding on. And in fact, top two starting to stretch away, Sean, from Billy Bob Wright.
Yeah. But look at this battle here for fifth. Rupe all over Kaisinen. Kaisinen already down a spot.
He was taking a look coming through the left-hander in the spiral, but just nowhere to go through here. And look at them weave up and over the blind crest on the Patriot course.
Yeah, Turkula's already beat up that the nose cone on that Lotus 49.
I wonder if Turkula was one of the ones I saw make that slight bit of contact into the first corner, into the horseshoe. I didn't quite get a chance to catch which two drivers it was, but it was the slightest of touches. I'm going to guess that that's not really a big worry around here since there's not too many long straights.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be really an aero issue for the car. What you hope is that it didn't hurt the handling, and apparently it hasn't. Turkula looking pretty good here so far.
Up at the front, the top two have pulled a 2-second gap on this first lap over Billy Bob Wright, but Claridge and Dudignan separated by only half a second. It is a battle of the Titans around this course. We've seen them race a couple times, but so far, this Sean. Oh, and Joni Kaisinen loses a position. Enzo Canta gets by. And another one looking to the inside and the left hook. That's Rupe Turkula. Looking around the outside as it switches back into the snake. Oh, you can't go too wide through here. He has to cut the course a little bit, but I don't think he's going to get a penalty. Wow.
Absolutely crazy. Look at Dave Price just hanging in there with this battle.
Not a driver we've seen a whole lot, but he has certainly made himself known here running in the top of the mid-pack of the field. I get the feeling, Sean, that we're going to see a lot of moves like that just out of desperation and grasping any opportunity.
Desperation, impatience, take your pick. But yeah, we're probably going to see a few more before this is all done and dusted.
This has allowed Enzo Canta to get himself a bit of a gap from this group. Sitting in fourth, he's got almost a second over Rupert Turkula.
Price locking him up. Oh, boy. Almost got into the four. Yoni Kajanen. Kajanen, trouble on the exit there. Oh, he's off.
Kajanen into the wall, coming over the crest, down into the Patriot course. Let's watch the replay on this. He looked like he had it, and then just suddenly it was gone.
Yeah, Yoni. I don't want to say he was feeling any pressure there or anything. Oh, more trouble on course. I know we're on the replay there. Dave Price just got into it with Ben Zocco. Dave, the big loser.
Yeah, that was kicked off because of Kajanen's problems. They went too wide through the spiral, believe it or not. Held it beautifully. And unfortunately, both Zocco and Price getting heavy damage from tangling up and over the crest on the latter half of the infield section. Oh my goodness, Benjamin Zocco is trying to crawl it back, but the lead is on again. Mick Claridge now only 3/10 behind Michel Dudignon.
Boy, Dudignon got quite a run there off the turn. Opens that gap back up just a little bit. Claridge, though, got great pace, keeping him at arm's length here, Joe.
It's just phenomenal to see the pace these two have over the rest of the field. Billy Bob Wright has dropped back to 4 seconds behind these guys. And even though Billy Bob doesn't usually have the pace to compete with them, we're only... How many laps are we into this thing? Three now?
3.
More than a second a lap that they're putting on him.
Ooh, got to see this Canta Turkula battle starting to heat up just a bit. On board the Rupe right now, he's all over him.
They head through South Bend, plunging back down the valley, and then uphill into Oak Tree. Oh, so tough to get the car woed up through this first apex, then getting the power down through the second one. Oh, and look at Rupe. He got a great run off of the corner, holding on to the gearbox of the Italian. They come up over the crest into Bichon, as Sean likes to put it. Gains a lot of ground into the braking of this corner, but has nowhere to go. So he's going to have to stay put now as they hit the twisty infield.
Another good battle a little farther back for 8th. It's Snelson and Trengrade going at it. Trengrade with a good little squirrely there, but boy, Snelson lets him go. I wonder, did Snelson get a slowdown there maybe?
I don't think so. I believe Snelson is one of the drivers who's told us before that he tends to let people go if he's being pressured and thinks about the big picture. So I think this is Bruce kind of just wanting to get to the end of this race, and I don't blame him on a track like this.
Yeah.
This gets it all sorts of wrong up and over the hill. Meanwhile, a little bit behind him in 11th. How about Hideki Koivisto and Richard Morin?
Yeah, Hideki just picking up a couple spots. He just got around Morin about a half a lap ago, but Morin back on pace here. Getting a good look at him.
And as they come into the roller coaster, they're joined by Don Good. So a three-way battle for 11th place here in the mid-pack. Nowhere to go as they come through Hogpen, but you've got your opportunity coming off the corner. If you can be better on the accelerator, you can see they're leaving Good in the dust. Morin and Koivisto now between these two as they come up to Horseshoe, the first corner. One of your best places to get an out-braking maneuver to the inside, but neither car looking like they're going to have a chance. So, as we jump back up to the lead, now 0.4 of a second between Dudignon and Claridge. Dudignon still your leader. Right on the gearbox, Sean. These two. Whoa, big mistake into Oak Tree. Hands it over to Mick Claridge. Somehow, Dudignon keeps it out of the tires. Wow, unexpected mistake from the Frenchman. Common mistake there, Sean, too.
Yeah, but not common for him. We look at this replay, and that's all it takes is just touch the grass here, and you're find yourself in trouble like that.
As we come back live, Dudignon did get it going once again, but he has a lot of work to do now. This is certainly not what he wanted. In fact, it looks like, what am I seeing? Oh, Neil Kemp did not take the lead, actually. Neil Kemp took a tow. Let's see if I can figure out what happened to Neil. This was coming out of Bichon. And this is very similar to what we saw with a few cars. Just got on the power too quickly. Fortunately, not able to see the replay, but very similar to what we saw with Kaijinen, except into the outside wall for Kaijinen, inside wall for Kemp.
The battle between Turkula and Kanta continues, Joe. This is a good one here. Turkula will reel him in, get right up on the gearbox, and then all of a sudden Kanta will just pull away a little bit. And that's what we've got going on here now, 5 laps into this race. Of course, Billy Bob Wright hanging onto that podium position just up in front of him. Oh, Turkula going to get by Kanta right there. Kanta's off.
Ooh, when I mentioned this in the lap guide, Sean, but braking into turn 1, so easy to get greedy. Oh, and there was a car I just saw disappear. That was Kaijinen. Okay, Kaijinen tried to get back on track and race, and I think he elected that either his car was too damaged or it was not worth getting in the way of others.
Ove Trengrade got Philip Spencer in mind right now. Spencer, another driver we haven't seen a lot of, Joe, and Ove up 7 spots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't think he got a lap time in. Did Ove? Did he? Let me look here. No, he did not. So that's why he had to come forward. Late braking move here into South Bend. That I've never seen a pass attempted into there.
Not the place you really want to make one. That's a trouble spot there, but let's look at it on the replay. Actually, this is one
he made it work.
Yeah.
You know, that was kicked off a bad curb for Philip Spencer. I've done that before. He should feel lucky that he kept the car together. When that happened to me in this car, I was in the Armco.
Well, Joe, you said 11. We've got 14.
Before the broadcast, for those who are wondering, I predicted only 11 cars would finish out of the 19 that started. So we're heading that direction. We've got 10 laps to go. So we jump up to 10th. Corey Visto and Morin still at it.
Yeah.
Been under pressure.
Yeah, Morin's, I still think he's not very happy about the move Hideki made on him earlier to get by, and Morin's got a chip on his shoulder. But you know what? Don Good having a really solid drive right now. I don't want to jinx the poor guy, but he's done real well to keep them close.
Certainly been a smooth customer here as he follows in the tire tracks of Corey Visto, waiting for an opportunity, seeing if there's anything he could do. But we might have to jump away from this soon because it looks like Turkula has been running down Billy Bob Wright. We switch up to this battle, Sean. He's got it down to 7/10 now.
Yeah, it seems like ever since Rupe lost his dance partner back there, the focus is now switched to Billy Bob. And boy, Billy Bob having such a good race here, still clinging to the podium. But Turkula right now seems to have the pace, maybe just a little bit better. Halfway around this course, heading down the back here. I guess is coming up.
Wonder if the cold temperatures has helped the Floridian maybe get a little bit of that Finnish steeliness as he's facing off with a Finn. Rupe hailing up from the north. Oh, look at him gain! Almost gets into the back of him into South Bend. And Billy Bob Wright, that looks like a lift. I think that was admitting defeat. So move Rupe Turkala up into the podium spot. We're seeing a lot of that today. Drivers just saying, all right, you just take it.
Well, I think we said earlier, survival. Not a bad day to maybe, to use that strategy here. It looks like at this point it's more car against the, or driver against the track than it is driver against driver right now.
Certainly seems to be the case. Let's give you a quick rundown of our top 5 as we're just about halfway through this race. Mick Claridge is your leader, and now by a pretty good margin, about 2.5 seconds, over Michel Dudignon after Dudignon made a mistake from the lead into Oak Tree and somehow kept the car out of the tires. Rupe Turkala has finally got into third, but he is a whole 10 seconds behind the Frenchman. Behind him, Billy Bob Wright recently gave up that third place spot. That slots him down into fourth at number 12. And then just behind there, we've got the Italian, Enzo Canta, a whole 6.5 seconds back. This track has really separated the drivers by a large distance.
Yeah, and pretty much all the way through the field. We don't have a lot of really good battles left, but let's look at 6th. Ove Trengrade has worked hard to get there, up 8. There in 6th spot. Philip Spencer up 2 spots, sitting in 7th. Snelson up 2 spots, sitting in 8th. Roy Cunningham plus 6 right now in 9th. Rounding out the top 10, it's Koivisto with Morin and Don Good still following right there. It's probably one of the closer battles we've got on track right now for that 10th spot.
We watch this battle as they come up to the front stretch one more time. Morin's got a great run here. He might get a whiff of the slipstream as he reels in the car of Hideki Koivisto, but he's not brave enough under braking. Down into the horseshoe. He's going to pull back and stay in that 11th position.
Koivisto with a bit of a slip there out of the hairpin.
Yeah, way late on the brakes and maybe got in a bit too deep. Holds it together. These two start fighting. That is Don Good behind them. He's sitting in the popcorn position, could take advantage. Now down to 8 laps to go. And Sean, something we haven't talked about, nice late afternoon lighting out here, and I think that's kind of helping the track temperature. So at least they get a little bit of a pretty sunset and a nice cool track to race on.
I don't know how cool it really is. I mean, it is partly cloudy, but it's 95 degrees on track, which is hotter than it was in the practice leading up to this race. So still a bit slick out there, but yes, the late afternoon making a difference, allowing a little bit more grip. If you want to call what the Lotus 49 provides as grip, they're getting a little bit of help there. But again, still pretty hot conditions on track and a little bit of wind. And we talked about the 130 feet of elevation changes around here. Top of the hill can get a little sketchy.
No doubt about that. Meanwhile, we're looking at this battle between Canta and Trangarade. The Finn has reeled in the Italian. Excuse me, the Norwegian has reeled in the Italian to within about 3/10. We ride on board with him, just looking over his shoulder. You can see how much concentration this car takes around here, how much wheel work is happening inside that cockpit. I always love just how open this cockpit looks as well. You can see so much of the driver in this old machinery, gaining ground under braking down into horseshoe. Oh, he is right underneath that gearbox now.
I appreciate the wood grain finishes of the cockpit.
Ah, yes. That amused me too. In Grand Prix Legends as well, you could see in the Ferrari that it has what looks like leather padding on the side as well.
Boy, Canta just not giving up here, is he? He's got Ove all over his mirror, and Kanta just doesn't seem to crack here. He's really found his drive here so far, but boy, Trent Grade all up over him now.
Through South Bend. Now they come up to Oak Tree. Let's see how each of them fares through here. We've seen one major driver make a mistake so far this race, and a bad exit out of the second apex for Ove Trangerade. And here we get an illustrated example, Sean, of just how important that second part of the corner is.
Indeed, yes, sir. Boy, going up the hill here, so hard to hit that braking zone just right.
Meanwhile, we're hearing up at the front that Dudignon has reeled in Claridge, and in fact, that 2.5 second gap is now down to 1.2. We might have to jump back to this battle but for fifth in a little bit if Michelle doesn't make more inroads. Oh, speaking of which, there goes Kanta.
There goes another spot for Ove Trangerade. Let's look at the replay.
Steady climb forward for the Norwegian, and this is Spiral. You were complaining about the difficulty of this corner.
I can't do it. Can't do it. Don't want any part of it. And so just gets in hot.
Kanta either. So he has lost out on that 5th position, and he moves himself down into 6th. So he doesn't have to worry as much about Philip Spencer. He's got 4.5 seconds to gain on the Italian. But how about a tip of the hat to Spencer so far? Running 7th, not really a driver we've seen a whole lot of. And we didn't mention him a whole lot this race. We briefly took a look at him, but man, a run into 7th, and he started at 9th. This is a great job by the UKNI driver.
Yeah. I mean, showing up here at what, quite frankly, is the toughest course we've seen this season, in my opinion, anyway. And he's got this one pretty well dialed in.
I would agree with that one. So he'll have to work a little bit harder to try and take out Kanta, who's taken podiums so far this season. So we know that he's no slouch. And Dudignon, hate to jump away yet again, he's got that #1 car down to 1 second now. He seems a little bit faster than Mick.
Maybe just a hair. Boy, up the hill there, though, Mick was just a little bit better, broke a little bit deeper.
Look at the lap times, too. 124 or 224.9, 225.3 for Claridge.
Yep.
I'm wondering if Claridge is maybe pacing himself?
Well, pacing himself or making sure he doesn't get in trouble, one or the other. It's the same thing when you're trying to survive this race.
Yeah, and we should point out, Sean, there's no drop weeks in this championship. So if he makes a major error and throws the car away, that's going to allow some of these drivers that are chasing him in the points to get a huge chunk out of him.
Right. So you've won 4 in a row. If you don't finish first in this one and you manage to finish second, that's still, you're sitting pretty good. That's better than not getting any points at all.
Exactly. So minimizing the damage, I wonder if that's what the Brit is thinking about. Just bring it home. Don't really worry if Michelle beats me.
Battle for 10th, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
More and almost got into the gearbox there of Cuevito heading into the turn.
Down to the spiral they go. Heavy compression under braking. You could see with the way that it gets super dark where the tires suddenly grip. And then at the bottom of the hill, they climb right back up. And this is where it gets blind and weaves back and forth. Car bouncing over the curbs, having to be aggressive. Not as much curb for Richard Morin through the first part, but he gains a lot in the second part. Onto the gearbox of Cuevito once again. Still continuing to rise in elevation, and now he's putting the pressure on as they come up to roller coaster, but not quite enough. Still a defensive move from the Finn into this downhill right-hander, and he holds him at bay for now.
For now. Mick has had trouble. Mick has had big trouble. Oh, boy.
Wow, this was out of the snake. Let's look at the replay. And I think part of this was some traffic maybe putting him off. The traffic did nothing wrong, but Claridge with too much curb, and you can see the results.
He got by Gary Anderson clean, and then, boy, 2 tires off, Joe, right over the other side of that curb.
And you saw that was more due to an iRacing glitch. I'm sure Mick would have tried to get the car going once again, but he had to take a tow. This hands it right back to Michel Dudignon, a 12.5-second lead over second place now for the Frenchman. He is solidly in the lead.
Well, apparently the racing gods were not pleased with Mick Claridge today, and he's had his race taken from him. Wow.
This will be the first race that Mick Claridge does not win, and I feel pretty confident saying that one this time, Sean.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe from there. In fact, Mick's taking his car behind the wall. With many others are today. Ben Zocco, Yoni Kaishinen, Daniel Murphy.
Well, Dudignon is not in the hunt right now for the championship, so for him, this is all about just bringing home the win, not necessarily worried about the points. But for drivers like Enzo Canta, Billy Bob Wright, Ove Trangarade, this is a nice chance to make some inroads on Mick Claridge.
Boy, and you know, Canta, I thought maybe he might have a chance to catch Billy Bob. You still got to run these laps here, these last 4 laps, but Canta's going to have to get busy quick. 6.5 seconds back.
And, you know, I'm wary about how much we're going to say about Canta, because last time we said something about his pace. He took a personal affront. He wasn't necessarily offended, but he took it as a reason to show us up and say, all right, I'm going to improve my pace. And he did. He came back with a 2nd place at the very next race. And I'm curious to see after this one, when he's certainly not as strong as we've seen him in the past, what we're going to see at the next round at Zolder. Why don't we jump back down to 10th, though, because Richard Morin still trying to get 9th away, what is now 9th, that before it was trying to get 10th away from him. Hideki Koivisto, this battle for the mid-pack still going on, really hasn't abated the entire race. It's Canada versus Finland out here.
Yeah, a strange race for Koivisto so far, I'd say, to be honest with you. Not a great qualifying effort, but up 4 spots, but just hasn't been able to get any more than that. Roy Cunningham, almost 11 seconds ahead, has just eluded him, and Morin, though, really on pace here.
Last season, we saw Koivisto grab quite a few points, actually, and this was when they were down to 6th position in this series, so that was impressive. So many of the faster drivers were falling by the wayside in the early stages of the season that Koivisto was just picking up championship point after championship point. This season, a lot harder for him. We've seen so many faster drivers influx into the series, Sean.
Yeah, well, guess what? This series grows in popularity every week, Joe, and more people realize, hey, I can drive that car too. And that's a good thing. We love seeing the new names and faces.
Well, as we watch this, this battle really heating up. We have Mick Claridge waiting for an interview, but we'll get to him in just a second here as we see if this battle will heat up or cool down. We still got 4 laps, and it looks like Koivisto was able to stretch away on the backstretch. So I'm wondering if maybe we could pull Claridge in for an interview, checking with our director here for a second. All right, let's reel him into the booth and talk to him about what happened out there. Mick, you had 4 for 4, and it looked like maybe you could take a 5th one after Michel's mistake, but what happened in the snake?
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick, Canta getting past Ove Trendegrade, picking him up there out of 29A.
Let's look at the replay. I think that was out of Hogpen. Indeed it was. Enzo Canta, 2nd time we've seen a mistake out of him. Dipping 2 wheels out of there, and you don't need 2 times for asking for Trangarade. He sneaks through. All right, as we come back live, I'm sorry, Mick, back to your question, to the question for you. What happened in the snake?
Hi, first, can you hear me all right?
We got you.
Yeah, I was so annoying. You know, I got past Michel where he made the mistake, and then, well, the start was hilarious. It was all over the place at the start. I didn't know where he was. I thought he was behind me. I was about turning to the apex, and I saw his front wheel, so I thought I better not. And Yeah, then he lost it up at the top of the hill by the tree, and then he chased me back down. And when I got past the back mark, I looked in the mirror just to see if he'd got past, and I just wasn't concentrating because I was looking in the mirror. Just lost it on power. So annoying. Really, really annoying.
Wow, so that one small mistake just looking in the mirror caused that big wreck. Is that what it's like around this entire lap? Just no time to relax?
There's just a little bit of time to relax on the back straight down the hill after the tree, and that's about it. That's where I cleared the screen and all the rest of it. But yeah, going through the snake there, especially when the back wheels are just jumping up and down over the little apexes there. Yeah, just gave it too much power there on the apex. Yeah, really, really annoyed at that.
Well, commiserations on the finish, but the good news is with the lead that you built up in the points in the first 4 rounds, you are not going to give away that championship lead after this finish.
Yeah, it's good to know that. I just wanted, I actually was nowhere in practice just before the race. I wasn't even going to race, to be honest with you. I was so bad. And when we qualified, I thought, oh, that's not too bad. Then, just 3 tenths away. Yeah, I hope there's some good battles going on there. It should be.
Yeah, there's plenty of them, and thanks for talking to us. So we're going to return to those and hope to see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
That was Mick Claridge, who unfortunately DNFs today after 4 straight wins. We've been watching the battle between Trangarade and Kanta. This is for 4th place. Trangarade holding him off just about by a second.
I've continued to watch the battle between Koivisto and Morin. A little more spread out now, but Morin not giving up on anything here. A little over 2 laps to get this done.
Well, I thought we were going to have fewer cars, but some of the drivers, I think, trying to maybe scalp some positions by getting a Dory Award. Drivers like Neil Kemp and Dave Price have come back out on track after incidents and are 4 laps down, and they are going to get Mick Claridge, and that'll move them up to 14th and 15th respectively. So I may have overestimated on the attrition, which is a good problem to have, Sean.
No, that's a fine problem to have. No problem at all there, Joe. Boy, I just thought Morin had a run. He gets out of hog pen. And Joe, this is what's key to making this work on the front straight. That exit out of hog pen in 29A, that sets up everything. If you don't get a good one, you won't catch him.
Whoa, big slide into the corner. Sorry to interrupt for Koivisto. Second time we've seen that from him. Somehow, I almost wonder if that's just Koivisto's line, because he brought it back almost like a diamonding off the corner. That's just bizarre how he sends it through there.
Yeah, and that's not the first time he's done it, like you said there. So I think that's all part of his technique here.
Amazing he doesn't send it off into the grass there. Well, that holds Richard Morin at bay. And talking about hog pen, just how hard is it to get the power to grip coming out of there? Because that's one of the things about this car is that right pedal, unlike so many of the more modern machinery, there's so much modulation in it.
Yeah, you're really feathering the throttle there. Finding that balance, very, very difficult. Got to be in tune with this car, Joe. The white flag is out for Dudignon.
Indeed so. Michel Dudignon, the Frenchman, after not the start that he would have wanted, had to miss a couple rounds here in the Lotus 49 World Cup. He's got 13 seconds over Rupe Turkle. He could cruise to the end if he wanted. With him being all alone and there being still a very tight fight for 9th position, I wonder if we could check back in on Morin, because he's got it down to 3/10 and pressurizing Koivisto. Through the spiral, they're going to get 1.5 more laps to try and make something happen out here, Sean.
Boy, Trengarade's also getting close to Kanta here. I didn't think it was going to happen.
But wait, no, did Kanta get back by? Trangarade was in front of him.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry. Kanta got by here just a moment ago, actually.
Yeah, checking to see where exactly that happened.
Yeah, I'm checking it too. Oh, I see what Trangarade went off course.
Which is exactly what happened to Kanta, so it's all swings and roundabouts for these drivers battling for the spot just outside of the podium. They're going to get a few more chances for something to happen, but let's take a look at that number 1 car in P1 as Michel Dudignon comes down to the spiral. It's now up to 14 seconds that he's got the gap. Taking it nice and easy, working his way back up the hill, over the blind crest, clattering it over the curbs. And this Frenchman just makes it look easy in this car sometimes. Didn't have a perfect race, though. He had a huge moment heading into Oak Tree, somehow kept it together, somehow kept it out of the barriers, and that was the critical thing, because all he had to do was hold on to his rival, Mick Claridge, and eventually the race came back to him. He's got to be thanking his lucky stars, because as Michel Dudignon comes out of Hogpen, up the hill, and across the line, he takes the win here in round 5 of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And let's jump back to that battle for 4th.
Joe, Kanta has made several defensive moves here so far. Trendgrade not finding any opportunity to get through. It all comes down to this. Just a few turns left.
He doesn't go defensive down into the roller coaster, so he feels safe enough. I think it's going to be more about if he can get the run. Oh, and Trendgrade is pushing as he dips wheels off into the dirt, but he doesn't lose ground. This is what I was about to say. He can maybe make a move, but he can't find the grip. Nope. So Enzo Kanta is going to stay in 4th.
Wow. Koivisto and Morin are still at it back there.
Koivisto has got a bit of a gap. It's gone up to 8/10. He was wide through the spiral, but he holds on. Both the drivers are going to get a top 10 unless they make a big mistake here at the end. They got 17 seconds over Don Good. They're coming back off the Patriot course to the main circuit, into roller coaster. Defensive move from Koivisto. Unlike Kanta, he feels under threat. You can see the ground that gained Richard Morin. Canadian's going to get one more opportunity. Coming off of Hogpen. Oh, he's very close, but there's just not enough slipstream. Koivisto's going to hold on to 9th. Everybody else is pretty much separated. Don Good going to be behind them in 11th, Ang in 12th, and Gary Anderson in 13th. He actually has already finished a lap down. So with that, let's go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, and well, I predicted only 11 at the finish with 19 started, and thankfully, I was proven wrong. We had 15 cars take the checkered flag at the end. Michel Dudignon was the first of them. We wondered if he would take it over Mick Claridge, but it didn't quite work out exactly how we thought. Michel had a mistake and had to regain the lead after a mistake from Claridge as well. Rupe Turkala came home in second. How about that for the old-timer? He's been around running these old cars since the Grand Prix Legends days and shows that he has not lost his speed. Billy Bob Wright as well takes home the final podium position, and Enzo Canta gets a fourth with a fierce battle that he had with Ove Trangarade all race long. Trangarade, he didn't get a qualifying time in, which means he started in 14th and finished within the top 5. I'd say that's still a good day for the Norwegian. Philip Spencer, driver we're not as familiar with, comes home with a respectable 6th position. And Bruce Nelson was a little bit timid today, but still went from 10th to 7th. Roy Cunningham takes home an 8th. We didn't really give him any screen time that I can think of, but he finishes with a good finish himself. And Hideki Koivisto, in a battle all race long as well, manages to get 9th over Richard Morin, who rounds out our top 10.
All right, and then in 11th, it's Don. Tell me something good. Does not take a qualifying lap and finishes 11th, 7 spots up. Andrew Eng, 12th. 13th, going to go to Gary Anderson. And the rest of these drivers all struggled just a bit today. 14th, going to go to Dave Price. Neil Kemp in 15th. Mick Claridge, man, he lost out on an opportunity. Was really disappointed. He'll take 16th today. 17th, going to go to Joni Kajanen, another driver that I am sure is disappointed in his finish. 18th, Ben Zoko, and Daniel Murphy. Boy, it started all bad for him in the first turn there in the horseshoe, and it never improved, Joe. And he'll finish 19th. But a good effort by the Finns today, even with Kajanen's trouble. They put 2 cars in the top 10, and that'll give them a significant shot in the arm chasing the UK.
Well, I'm sure all of our French fans would like to hear from our winner, but Michel's still a little shy about his English. So somebody maybe offer to translate for him, and we'll get Michel in here eventually to talk about his wins and his podiums when he gets them. In the meantime, we're talking to the last podium finisher, Billy Bob Wright, about his race. Billy, it seemed like you had a nice little fight early on with a few drivers, and then it was kind of all by your lonesome self for the rest of it.
Yeah, I was thinking, Joe, that hey, if you guys aren't talking about me on the broadcast, that's usually a pretty so happy to have that happen. And I got to give a big shout out to Michel for sharing his set on Thursday, because I was pretty quick on my set, but it was super hard to hold on to the car. He shared his set, man, and it was like on rails.
Now, the community elected to follow the Skip Barber schedule, which included this Grand West course at VIR. Any regrets doing this version of VIR, or do you want to see this one back?
No. Actually, I really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously the result shows that I was having a good time here, and I found it super challenging. I mean, it was a super workout, a soaker, even though I didn't have pressure, because you're constantly turning and braking and gas. It's just super technical, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Well, in that case, you've got 29 corners to choose from. So which is your best, which is your best, and which is your worst around here?
That's a good one. The most challenging is a NASCAR. it's kind of a double apex left-hander, and you have to slide the car all the way through it if you're going to be quick. So I'm not sure. I think that probably would be both, actually, because if I get it right, it's incredibly rewarding and super fun, and if you get it wrong, man, it just kills you.
I like that answer.
I think he likes it just because it says NASCAR in it, to be honest with you.
Now, it was a good time today, man. I was really anxious about what was going to happen. And I also have to thank all the guys behind me for fighting so hard, because that really was the difference. When those guys started fighting right behind me, it let me get away. And then, I mean, Enzo caught me several times, but then Uwe jumped up to him and they fought. I mean, it was just over and over. You know, I was super lucky to finish third, because those guys behind me easily had better pace than I did, especially at the end of the race, but they were fighting the whole time. And I can't wait to see the broadcast, because I went in and was listening to you guys in the lead up to this interview. Man, it sounds like there was some really good racing in this one.
Well, there definitely was. And again, congratulations on a podium finish today, and hope to see you next week.
Oh, I'll be here, guys. And again, thanks, Michelle. We'll see you guys next week.
That was Billy Bob Wright, third place finisher. Up next, we have the Italian just behind him in fourth, who had to fend off Ove Trangrade. Sean's going to be talking to Enzo Canta.
Enzo.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
Hey, howdy, buddy. That was some race, man. Talk about that battle between you and Ove. That had to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I think it was not a usual battle, because it was a battle between two guys that were trying to stay alive in this damned hell. We never pass each other in a traditional way. We pass each other because one went on the grass and the other pass, and again and again. So I saw him two times very near to the walls, so I don't know how he could save his car, but I did I think the same thing almost 2 or 3 times, and so it was a battle between 3 people, me, him, and the track. It was very funny, but also very thrilling. And I was very lucky to finish in fourth, because he had a pace faster than mine. But I think he committed the one mistake, that is to push too hard here. The most important thing is to stay alive and finish the race. Like Nürburgring or Mount Panorama, I think this is the same philosophy of driving here.
Yeah, we kept saying that in the pre-race and during the race, the similarities between the courses makes it very, very tough. But my question to you is, are you ready to run this track again?
I'm still not ready to race this track again the next 10 minutes, because last week I had some troubles with my steering wheel. My Fanatec V1 died, one motor died, so I had to keep my old G27 from my box, and again I'm still learning again to drive with this toy wheel, because this is a good wheel, but this is a toy, comparing it with the Fanatec. So extremely different feelings during the driving, and you can't feel the car in the same way. So for me, it was double L this week, because I never raced on this track, and I'm still too slow in the skip barber too, and the wheel too was another variable that made me very, very difficult to race. But the track is still very, very amazing, technical, and yeah, I love it. But I would love it more if I would drive here better than today.
All right, Enzo. Well, hey, congratulations on a great race. We will see you next week, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week.
All right, Joe, and that was Enzo Canta. I believe he's driving with the Fisher Price wheel, if I understood him correctly there. But you've caught up with Roy Cunningham.
Indeed. We didn't give him a whole lot of screen time today, but I have a feeling, Roy, that you're probably thankful for that.
Yeah, well, you didn't give me screen time because I was pretty much alone the whole time. I was catching up to Bruce a little bit there, but then made a big mistake and got one of those long cut the course penalties, and he, and then from that point, I was just trying to survive, which was pretty much my goal from the beginning. Anyway, honestly, I had some challenges this week. My pedals died on Wednesday. And by the time I got replacements, I had missed the race on Thursday and a bunch of my normal practice sessions, and so just trying to get through this race in one piece was the goal today.
Yeah, in fact, that 8th place finish is going to get you a point on the board. Are you satisfied with that today?
Oh, I'm more than satisfied. I think really my goal was to try to finish the race with not getting disqualified. I figured there would be a couple of people disqualified at some point because it's very hard to do clean laps here. At least it was for me, but I'm dealing with a lot of new gear too, so it makes it a little bit tricky. And then today it was really hot, so it was slippery. So I figured there'd be a couple of disqualifications or crashes, and I just wanted to avoid all of that and get some kind of a finish. And yeah, if stuff happens up front, you can score a point. I mean, my whole goal this year was to get 1 point at some point in the season, and I think I've scored 3 times now. So yeah, I'm quite happy.
Well, the good news for you about those incident points is you only had 6 of them. Meanwhile, Enzo Canta, he had 15. So he was a little bit tighter than you were. Yeah. Well, congratulations on getting another point. We hope to see you in those points paying positions more times this year.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make the race next week because I've got the Daytona 24 with Avatar Auto Racing. I'll be running with those guys. We're doing a couple of Ferraris for the Daytona 24, and if I'm starting that race, the timing doesn't work out so good. So we haven't sorted out what the schedule is going to look like. So I can't drive 2 cars at once. It turns out. So I know. There's not a way to do it. So it's I would, if I could, have 2 wheels and away you go. But no, it's so if I'm starting the Daytona 24, I won't be around next week. But I hope that we can sort things out, and I'll be able to do the 49 race and then jump into the Ferrari for like a second stint or something.
Well, regardless of which it is, we wish you the best of luck and can't wait to see you again, Roy.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Roy Cunningham, who finished in 8th place today. And a little tidbit for you. I don't often check these afterwards, Sean, but we had 1 driver who did not get incidents. Can you have a guess at who it was? And he did finish.
Hideki Koivizo?
Oh, close. It was Richard Morin, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful job by him to be fighting that whole time and 0 incidents. Well, we're going to close up today, and hopefully we were incident-free on the broadcast. But before we go, we want to thank Jack Olstead and Benjamin Zoko for help bringing these broadcasts to air each season. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see these listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. A special thank you to AppGeneer.in for some special software that they've provided for us, and we really appreciate all their hard work that they do for developing their ATVO platform. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, or we're on Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, we're going to another difficult one, but a lot shorter lap. That is Zolder, the GP course that we're racing at. So all of the chicanes are in there. That'll be Saturday, January 20th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.